Hello! Thank you for tuning into the 19th Century Russian Literature podcast. Our topic for today is Leo Tolstoy's literary work, How Much Land Does a Man Need? This story was published in 1886 in 9 parts and intended to be told in the Russian oral form of narrative known as skaz. This comes from the Russian word skazat, meaning to tell. This distinctly Russian style of storytelling is readers' first hint at Tolstoy's dedication to Slavic and traditional Russian styles and beliefs. How Much Land Does a Man Need revolves around a main character, Pahom, who is a peasant farmer. Throughout the story, he struggles with greed and is ultimately destroyed through his selfish pursuits of land and wealth. This is also a commentary on the rigid class system present in Russia at this time. We will now hear more about the details of the story from the author himself.
Hello, thank you for tuning in today to our podcast, 19th Century Russian Literature. Today I have with me special guest, Count Leo Tolstoy.
Hello, I'm Leo Tolstoy, and I'm here to talk about how much land does a man need?
So, Mr. Tolstoy, please tell us about your motivation behind the story, How Much Land Does a Man Need?
As I've gotten older, I decided I did not want to write as long of books as Anna Karenina and War and Peace, so I decided to cut down all the artistic stuff and make simply moral lessons with my stories like I did in How Much Land Does a Man Need?
It definitely seems a lot more simplistic than your other works. Can you talk about that at all?
Yes, this work actually coincides much more with my lifestyle, as I am now a simple peasant person, and I want my writing to reflect that. The downfall of the main character, Pahom, in this story is the best demonstration of the greed of Russian aristocratic society and the norms we promote of gaining too much land.
Does your character Pahom relate to any other characters you've ever written about?
Yes, just as Levin and Anna Karenina represented what I view as the perfect Russian lifestyle, Pahom represents what I view to be the imperfect and immoral Russian lifestyle because all he cares about is how much land he can get.
Fascinating. Now, more back to your writing style. Your story seems to reveal a lot of religious themes.
Yes, my faith has always been very important to me, and especially so in my writing. I believe that the best way to come to a good and wholesome life is through God and faith, and I try to demonstrate that in this story. And I incorporate the tale of the rich fool that comes from Luke chapter 12, verses 16 through 20, that the man in this story behaves similar to Pahom.
I see that you do make a lot of references to the devil as well in this story. Can you explain a little bit more about his different personifications?
Yes, I introduced the devil in this story through the quote Pahom says when he says, "If I had enough land, I should not fear the devil himself." By him challenging this, he opens himself up to temptations of greed from the traveling peasant.
Please tell the audience your opinion on the greed of man.
In its simplest form, greed is putting oneself before others. This includes God, which will ultimately, in my opinion, be man's destruction. By allowing greed to overtake your everyday actions, one does not act in a godly way and have faith. And that's the message that I wanted to convey in this story, is that by greed and putting ourselves before God, we will never know true happiness or the eternal paradise of heaven.
So how does this story work itself and fit into the cultural and historical context of the time that it was written?
Following 1861, the ideal Russian man was the liberated serf. He is a simple man that only worships God and works his land and lives a life unobstructed by gluttonous means like Pahom.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that, for being with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would just like to make one more point about the morals of my stories. My stories are always faith-based, and I believe that the true way a Russian man should behave is in a Slavic way, adhering to the Russian traditions, living a simple life, and worshiping God.
We'll now meet the main character who Tolstoy has told us so much about.
Good evening. I'm Isaac Patterson. Welcome to this session of the 19th Century Russian Literature Podcast. I'm joined today by Pahom from Tolstoy's famous short story, How Much Land Does a Man Need? Pahom, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So Pahom, I hear that you're looking to get some more land, despite purchasing 40 acres just a few years ago.
That's correct. You see, I thought the 40 acres would be enough, but the people, my neighbors, they just wouldn't respect my land. You see, they let their horses eat my corn, they let their cows eat my grass. I just can't get justice either. I bring them to court and nothing comes of it.
So now you're at the commune, where you and your family were given 125 acres for free. That wasn't enough either?
Well, you see, I'm trying to grow a lot of wheat, and carting it back and forth to the city just from so far away became exhausting. So I spoke with a tradesman, a traveling peasant, and he acquired thousands of acres. And he told me the secret. All I have to do to this cheap land was to talk to the Bashkir chief. So I did. I gave him some tea, some gowns, and he set me up real nice. Tomorrow, planning to stake out all the land I want and be out there bright and early, and I'll be set.
So what exactly was the deal you made with the Bashkir chief?
Listen to this. Well, for only 1,000 rubles, I can get the deed to all the land that I can travel in a single day.
Wow. Is there any catch to that?
Well, I have to make it back to the point that I started with, or I'll lose out on my investment, but I'm not too worried about that. I'll keep it modest. I'm a simple guy. I don't need that much.
Wow. Well, in that case, I wish you the best of luck.
I'm sure I won't need it. What could go wrong?
Now let's see how Pahom's journey went. What a large tract I will mark off. I can easily go 35 miles in a day. The days are long now, and within a circuit of 35 miles, what a lot of land there will be. I will sell the poorer land or let it to the peasants, but I'll pick out the best land and farm it. I will buy 2 ox teams and hire 2 more laborers. About 150 acres shall be plow land, and I will pasture cattle on the rest.
It is time to go to the steppe and measure the land.
Some tea before we go?
No. If we are to go, we must go. It is high time.
See, this, as far as your eye can reach, is ours. You may have any part of it you like.
I must lose no time. First shift is done, but there are 4 shifts in a day, and it is too soon yet to turn. I'll just take off my boots. I will just go for another 3 miles. I must have a rest. An hour to suffer, a lifetime to live. Too much. What if I'm too late? After having run all the way, they'll call me a fool if I stop now. There is plenty of land, but will God let me live on it? I have lost my life. I will never reach that spot. All of my efforts
have been in vain.
What a fine fellow. He's gained much land.
Pahom's servant came running up and tried to raise him, but he saw that blood was flowing from his mouth. Pahom was dead. The Bashkirs clicked their tongues to show their pity. His servant picked up the spade and dug a grave long enough for Pahom to lie in and buried him in it. 6 feet from his head to heels was all the land he needed.
We will now meet with some of the supporting characters from the story to hear their perspectives. First up is the Bashkir chief.
And hello, welcome back to the Russian 19th Century Literature Podcast. Today I'm here with the Chief Bashkir from Leo Tolstoy's story, How Much Land Does a Man Need? Chief, when you first met the main character in Leo's story, Pahom, what did you think of him?
Pahom was simply another farmer who wanted our land. We have very good land, so it's rather common for farmers to come in and try to ingratiate themselves to us in order to buy our land. Pahom was no different.
So, Chief, what is it about your land that makes it so desirable?
We live on the steppes of Russia. It is virgin soil. Our land is famous for how well things grow and how fertile it is.
Did you have any idea what would happen to Pahom when he began his journey?
I suppose it was possible. Most people aren't that stupid, but I suppose he was blinded by greed enough to run himself to death.
So, Chief, how did you feel when Pahom died? Were you upset or were you happy?
I really didn't care. He wanted some land, we got some free money, we got some free gifts. I didn't really care what happened to him.
Well, Chief, that was a very interesting take. Thank you for stopping in today on the Russian 19th Century Literature Podcast. I'm Caleb.
Welcome back to the 19th Century Russian Literature Podcast, where we have the traveling peasant featured in Tolstoy's story, How Much Land Does a Man Need? So, why did you decide to tell Pahom about the land?
Well, he told me about his issues with the land that he currently had, and I had such great luck with land, so I decided to help him out of the kindness of my heart.
So you were not worried at all about what this opportunity might do to him?
Why should I have been? He seemed like a resourceful man who could take care of himself.
So you had no intention of harming him in any way with this friendly suggestion?
I'm afraid I don't know what you're implying. You appear to be accusing me of something. I have no idea what.
Well, word on the street is, you're the devil.
I'm insulted by these baseless accusations that question my motives and besmirch my good character. I'm sorry, I can never say that with a straight face.
In summary, the traveling peasant and the chief are both personifications of the devil. The devil played into Pahom's overwhelming greed to ultimately destroy him. In the end, Pahom's greed and pursuit of land brought about his demise. Tolstoy's clear message in this story differs from how he works as a younger writer, where the message was not clearly stated in his works. Tolstoy's obvious religious message is a testament to his beliefs and his viewpoints as a Slavophile. Thanks for tuning in to the first and last episode of the 19th Century Russian Literature Podcast. Don't forget to smash that like button and forget to subscribe.